Hey folks, JD here, and long-time viewer of the channel Mimo has got a question for us. Right, this is going to be a bit difficult. I've got 10 quadcopters. It's taken me a few days to come up with this list. So I've got 10 quadcopters going back from 2016 to 2018. This is in no particular order as well. Just to let you know, I don't think it's not the worst one then the best. This is just the the top 10. In no particular order, my friends. Let's start off with the DJI U42 Petrel. We first looked at this one in 2016 and I was shocked that it was so big. It was quite weighty as well. It had an okay camera attached to it, but above all the controls were just perfect. It was such a nice package rolled in together. Everything seemed to work so very well, and for the price, I think, and I'm going back quite a few years, but I think it cost about £45, and it was just staggering, absolutely staggering. And those motors, they're brushed, but they can pull a hell of a lot of power behind them. So I've had run cams on the bottom of them, I've picked up GoPros, I've had 2 cameras on the bottom of them as well, and it still managed to fly. All in all, this copter is absolutely fantastic. Next one is the Hubsan H502E and S. Now I've grouped these together quite simply because the E model is just a standard GPS basic beginner quadcopter, and the S model is a GPS beginner quadcopter with an FPV screen built in. So you have FPV relay and you can see exactly what the quadcopter sees. Now the cameras aren't fantastic at all, but the handling of the quadcopter was pretty damn good. Now both the transmitters, both 2 different styles, worked flawlessly. It gave me enough telemetry information to know how many GPS satellites I had locked on, what the battery position was on my quadcopter and my transmitter, exactly what distance I was getting up to. All in all, I thought these 2 were just runaway successes. They were both, I think I started off with the H502E was my first ever GPS quadcopter, and from this I've just bought every single GPS quadcopter I could. This is a fantastic pair of quads, really are excellent. The next one, love it or hate it, it is the Ryzetello. So it's powered by DJI kit. It's made by a robotics firm called Ryze. They came up with this quadcopter called Tello. Now I really like the Tello. It has got some downsides. It's better every single time there's a firmware update. It gets better and better. They've sorted out the frame skipping mostly. They have sorted out some instability issues. It all in all is fantastic. You add a Wi-Fi repeater into the mix and it's even better. I've flown this copter more than any other copter that I actually own, simply because it's small, it's light, it fits in any bag I take, and it is just a remarkably good quad. Now, when you buy it, it does come in at £100. Then if you want to buy a transmitter, you've got to pay extra. Then if you want to buy a Wi-Fi repeater, you've got to pay extra. Then a battery pack to power the Wi-Fi repeater when you're standing in the field, you've got to pay extra again. Okay, alright, it gets quite expensive at that point. Quite simply, at that point, I don't think it's worth it. If you're just buying it to use on your smartphone, then I think it is very worth it, and I think everybody should own one of these quads. I really do. Number 4, we have the DJI Phantom 3. Now this is a fantastic good quad. It is well known within the quadcopter hobby community and in the photography and videography community as well. It seems to be a good old-fashioned stable quad. There's never any problems with its flight. Its transmitter is fantastic. The range is phenomenal. The power you get from those brushless motors are absolutely amazing. You get some proper speed, you get some excellent distance. All in all, this copter has it all. It has everything. Okay, couple of downsides. The gimbal is open, so any damage is going to get any damage on that gimbal is going to stop the gimbal from working. That being said, I hammered mine when I owned it, and I tell you what, it was absolutely fantastic every single step of the way. The video quality of the 2.7K output is fantastic. I used, as with all my quads, use a class 10 SD card in the back of it. Had no problem picking up recordings or still photos either. This is, if you're after a good quadcopter to take good photos, good videos, you don't mind it being loud, and you don't mind carrying around quite a heavy quad with you as well, then this is most definitely, I would recommend, the quad for you to look at. Next is the SEMA X20W. Okay, let's go back to 2016. I hated nanocopters. They were awful, they didn't fly well, the transmitters were plasticky, as soon as you put them on a smartphone they just ran off with you. I lost quite a few. I hated them. I think even in quite a few, I know in quite a few videos I said, this is a nanocopter and I absolutely hate nanocopters, but this is alright. Now along came the SEMA X20. That totally changed my mind. The SEMA X20 is phenomenal. It's an indoor-outdoor quad. Okay, if you fly it outdoors, you're going to have no wind whatsoever because it will get taken away. You can get two different modes. You can get one with a camera, one with an LED. I got the LED model. The battery life was good. The transmitter did take some getting used to. I did find that a little bit awkward to begin with because it is really small, slimline, low-profile analog sticks. It was a little bit annoying, but still, once you got used to it, you were ripping around, no problem whatsoever. This, if you're looking for an indoor-outdoor nanocopter, look no further, folks, the SEMA X20W. Then we have the JD 509. The JD 509. Back in 2016, I bought this. It was about £90 from Amazon. It was the most spectacular quadcopter I'd ever owned up until this point. I think it was about the 4th or 5th to hit the channel, and I was so excited. Its brushed motors were loud, the ball bearings were scraping. You know, you could tell that you couldn't do distance with this quad. You could probably do about 100 meters, and that was it before it fell out of the sky. But one thing I liked about it, it had altitude hold that worked. There were a couple of quads before this I tested. Altitude hold was always a bit flaky. With this, it was excellent. It was a larger copter. You didn't have to have the propeller arms, the propeller guards on it for it to fly. It would cut through the air. You had multiple speed modes. You had a good camera on the bottom of it. All in all, it was just an excellent all-round quadcopter. I think it's more for the hobbyist market. It's not a really good first quad, but it is a good beginner quad if you are upgrading from another quadcopter and going into this hobby a little bit more in depth. Then we have the DJI Spark. Now this is my all-time favourite DJI quadcopter to date. It's small, you can carry it around, it's light, you don't need to have a car to transport it like you do with the Phantom 3. All in all, it is brilliant. I cannot rave about this enough. Now, it is expensive. When I bought it, I think, if memory serves, I paid about $380 for it on its own, without a transmitter. If I wanted the transmitter, there was an extra $150. So I waited and then bought the transmitter, and wow, that opens up a world of possibilities. It's such a great flyer, a true flyer, a fantastic camera, awesome gimbal. You can do distance with it. All in all, this is just a phenomenal little drone. It's a little way over the 250 gram mark, coming in at about 405 grams, but all in all, that is the only downside that I can think of with this quad. The DJI Go 4 app I've always found to work very well. I haven't had a problem with it. All in all, it is a fantastic quadcopter and definitely one for you to look out for. Next, we have the Hasaki H1 Bumblebee. Now, this is quite a strange one. It's a nano, weird orb, bumblebee coloured quad, but it flies so well. It is so smooth. It glides through the air with such ease. It is an absolutely dream to fly. I flew it outdoors. It was very good. It cut through some breeze. I flew it indoors. Wow, what an absolutely phenomenal quadcopter. I did a top 5 or top 10 indoor quads a little while ago video. The Hasaki was on top every single time, and that is going up against some really high powered players. The Hasaki just wins hands down. Next, we have the Eachine QX65. So when I was getting into quadcopter FPV racers, I bought a couple of large racers, found them really difficult to control. They just want to fly. They're just fast beasts. So then I stepped it down a couple of notches, went for a 65mm quad, the Eachine QX65. Since then, it is the quadcopter that has the highest flight time out of all of my arsenal. I think I've replaced 3 of the 4 motors. I keep on burning them out. It's great for acro. It's great for FPV practice. It's just a fantastic flyer. Now, be warned, when you buy this, you do need to have your own transmitter. I opt for FlySky. That's where I like, that's the mode, and that's the technology that I prefer to use. So I have the i6 and the i6X coming soon. And I find this quadcopter to be absolutely fantastic. I really do. It's just all round a brilliant, brilliant quad. Next and finally, we have the Parrot Swing. What list would this be if I didn't have a Parrot quadcopter? After all, the French company did start the whole quadcopter revolution with their AR drone 10 or so years ago. And the Swing is just brilliant. Okay, it's foam, that's Parrot's go-to build materials, made up of EPP, but it's a quadcopter which flies quite well as long as there's no breeze. But then, with 3 clicks of the analog stick, or 3 clicks of the shoulder button rather, it turns into a plane and soars around. And I tell you what, this thing really shifts in plane mode. The whole quadcopter goes from this angle and it clicks until it gets almost horizontal and then it flies. And it is absolutely phenomenal. It's got a little camera in the back of it. It has got optical flow. The camera only takes photos, but you can add a little camera to the back, as I did a few months ago, and do a little bit of reverse FPV flying. And that was an awesome experience. Alright then folks, well there we have it. Mimo, I hope that has answered your question. These have been my top 10 quadcopters from 2016 right the way through to present day 2018. Now, what's the future going to bring? I have no idea, but all these quads are fantastic. And in the years to come, this technology is going to advance. Things are going to get better. Motors are going to get more efficient. Brushless motors, I hope, are going to be used instead of brush motors in a lot of cheaper quads as well. They're starting to, but let's have a bit more out in the market. I think these are very exciting times to come. There we are, folks. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD. You've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy flying.